week. And I've got to say, well worth checking out the mindful practice that we recorded earlier. You can watch it on video later and also subscribe to the podcast. I loved the element of the practice this week, Mike, where you introduced a smile into the podcast, because it was all about feeling good, wasn't it? And it's amazing how when you do that, just lift the corners of your mouth, it does make you feel better.
Yeah, it does. And it's a practice that I would have ran a mile from when I was younger. Just the idea of forcing a smile, it sounds like so forced. But actually, this body is very intelligent, and it's a very intelligent kind of feedback loop. And just by purposefully breaking into even a subtle or gentle smile, that has an effect. So then you can kind of soak up the effect. So it's you get these statues of the Buddha, and you might know that there's always this kind of enigmatic little half smile often.
Yes.
And maybe that's because he's sitting and he's calm and his mind is still, and that feels pleasant. But it could also be that he's smiling on purpose to create calm and stillness. So a smile is a good tool to play with.
It also links very nicely to the fact that it would be Da Vinci's 500th birthday this week, and of course the Mona Lisa had a very enigmatic smile. So either she was very good at sitting still, or she was having to force a smile because she wasn't enjoying the process at all. But there you go, that's just a little aside for you. You've also posted recently some more guests that are going to be at Mindful Man, haven't you?
Yes, they just keep coming. Yeah, it's going to be a busy day, but there's so much on offer. So local speakers, we've got Ian Kirk, who's the island's first Wim Hof instructor.
What now?
Wim Hof is the Iceman, known as the Iceman. He's this man that's broken lots and lots of world records by going into ice and
literally going into ice.
Yeah, and usually it would kind of kill the average person, and he warms it up. He actually warms up the ice and he's melting it, and he's basically almost kind of accessing full control of his automatic nervous system, which is fairly new.
Wow.
So Ian has trained with him. He's friends with Wim, and he's come back to the island, and I actually went on a workshop with him on Saturday in Glenwillan, where we got to go into the freezing cold water. And it was fantastic. So just seek Ian out, Ian Kirk, incredible. So he's going to come and share his journey. We've got Janet Lees, who's going to do a Writing for Wellbeing workshop.
We love Janet Lees.
We do.
She's brilliant.
That was hugely popular last year. We've also got lots of yoga. We've got, what else have we got? Lots of international speakers coming over as well.
And they're all posted on your page, the My Free Mind page, Mike Kewley page, aren't they?
Yes, they're all there.
So
and Phil Quirk, actually, he was in a few weeks ago, Pro Noctis, talking about the
that's
athletes.
Right. Yeah.
So he's fascinating human performance coach. So he's talking. Actually, it fits into this Wim Hof thing that we've all gotten too comfortable, and actually cold and fasting and breathing and nature. That's kind of what we're designed to be in, and so we're kind of stepping back into those modes to regain some mental and emotional well-being again.
So if we all got spoilt by central heating, is this what it is?
That's basically it, and sugar.
Oh, brilliant. And another thing I wanted to talk to you about that I saw on your page actually was a post you wrote about the hours of wakefulness, because I found this quite shocking, because essentially it sort of works out that although we may live to being about 100, it's likely that because we're not really paying much attention, we're probably only awake for about 33 of those years. Can you just explain that for us?
Yeah, so even if we live to 100, which would be great, because we spend about a third of our lives asleep, you only get about 66 years of waking life, because you're asleep for the rest. So you've got 66 years basically. But in 2010, there's a fairly famous Harvard study that found out that the average American, although this is probably the average Westerner, spends about half of their lives not paying attention to what's actually happening. So they're lost in thoughts, daydreams, the voice in their head, the movies in their mind, the past, future, planning, etc. Essentially missing their life happening, which then takes you down to about 33 years of actually engaged existence.
Wow.
That is incredible, isn't it? So basically, because people can zone out very easily,
exactly.
This is sort of saying that they're missing out on an awful lot of their life.
And that's only if you live to 100.
Yeah.
So you get 33 years if you live to 100 of actually engaged, wide awake, sharp aliveness. So that's good. And many of us won't get to 100, so that brings down that 33. And I find it fascinating that we we miss so much, and we're so good at missing life slip through our fingers.
Yeah. So, okay, so if you were to, I mean, I know we talk about mindfulness and that's clearly going to be one of the ways of getting out of this rut. But if you were to give someone just a couple of quick tools that might sort of help them just jolt them out of that sort of waking sleep as such, what would you say?
Oh, well, one is a real shock, which is just to be aware that any single moment could be your last. I mean, it's not that radio friendly, but it's completely true. And I say that a lot in talks and things. That's a real motivator. What are we waiting for? We spend a lot of our lives waiting, when we don't know how long we've got. We didn't ask to be born. We're just here. It's happening for free. So let's get on with it. Let's use it. Let's soak it up.
And one thing we do here, because of course we're based on Douglas Head with the most amazing views when Mananin's cloak isn't down, and we've tried this, haven't we, Christy, in the office downstairs once a day to just stop, down tools, whatever it is, and actually just stand at the window and look at that incredible view, because here all over the island we are blessed with the most incredible scenery and the most amazing views. So even something like that, I guess, can just kind of bring you back to that moment and appreciate kind of what's around you.
That's it. You're tuning back into what's happening. And so that's the first thing, is to realise that any moment could be your last. So don't hang about, don't wait, get on with it, whatever you want to do. And the other thing is, with mindfulness, you're training your focus power so that you're focusing more on every single moment, which means you're absorbing more experience. So even if you live for 30 years, that becomes 60 years of fully focused experience. The way I talk about it is, we're lucky if in your lifetime you have a peak experience. So if you're lucky that if once in your life something so incredible, dramatic happens, like a moment of grace or flow or something where you're like, what was that? I don't know what that was, but it was amazing. You're lucky to have at least one moment like that. I talk about mindfulness as a way to make every single moment a peak experience. Every single moment, even the so-called dead moments, waiting in a queue, you're in the traffic, you're emptying the bin. Mindfulness transforms even those moments into peak experiences.
I never thought emptying a bin could be a peak experience.
It's one of the jobs I hate. I was only saying a couple of days ago, I'm sick of emptying this bin. I seem to do it every 5 minutes.
Well, now you might actually really enjoy it.
It's going to be a peak experience from now on for me. Thank you, Mike.
Mike, these are always fascinating sessions. Thank you so much for popping in to see us.